Hello, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Max Malins signing for Bristol Bears. He signed for the start of next season, so I'm going to get a little bit into that, what it maybe means for the squad and why I think it's a good sign for Bristol as a whole. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the like button and comment down below on what you think about Max Malins returning to Bristol, a club that he was on loan at just a short while ago. All right, let's get into it. So as I say, Max Malins, as many of you all know, was on loan at Bristol in the season that Saracens spent in the Championship. So a couple of seasons ago now, him and Ben Earl were two players that came on loan to the Bears and had a massive impact. Were really successful. I think he scored 18 tries in 19 games, so a really good hit rate. And that's a sort of try-scoring form that he's continued. Last season, he scored lots of tries. Start of this season, he scored lots of tries. But crucially, during his time playing for Bristol, he also got an England call-up. And that's when we first started to see him break into that England squad. And then I think since then, he's maybe sort of struggled to keep his place a little bit, which I think is quite important in terms of him signing for Bristol. Because let's be frank, staying at Saracens as a club, as a player, is brilliant. We hear all about the camaraderie of the team. We've seen how well they've started this season, and we suspect that they're going to be in amongst it for the trophies once again. They lost in the Premiership final last year. So there's a lot of reasons why someone would stay at Saracens, but he's decided to come back to Bristol. And I think a big part of that is England's selection. So when he played for Bristol, he spent a lot of his time at fullback, and kind of first almost that when he got selected for England, he was playing more fullback and maybe saw himself more as a fullback. And then we've seen Freddie Stewart come through, and he's now the nailed-on starter at fullback for England. Malins has had to spend more time on the wing internationally, and perhaps hasn't quite had the impact that maybe he might have wanted to. So I think he's hoping to come back to Bristol and play more at fullback. Now, why that's interesting is Charles Piutau. At the moment, when he's fit, Charles Piutau starts at fullback for Bristol, as he has done over the last few seasons. But I believe his contract is up at the end of the season. So Charles Piutau could be moving on. We know that he's on an awful lot of money, and therefore it makes sense that maybe he would be moving on at this stage. I know a lot of Bristol fans won't want him to, but I think there's a good chance of that. And at first, that seems really terrible because Charles Piutau on his day can beat anyone. His footwork's unbelievable. I think he's been a brilliant signing for Bristol overall. I think in terms of the excitement he's brought to Ashton Gate and everything like that. But he has missed a lot of rugby. He does often pick up little injuries, which we've seen fairly regularly, I would say, during his time at the club. And therefore, spending that much of money, and I imagine he's a marquee player, so it probably sits outside of the cap, but even so, spending that much money, making that much of an investment for someone who does miss a fair bit of rugby, maybe isn't therefore the end of the world that he moves on. The problem is, how do you replace him? Well, in Max Malins, you might not have someone that is as much of an X-factor player. He might not quite possess the sparkling feet that Charles Piutau has, but what he does have, what we do know about him, is he fits into the Bristol system. And this is something that Pat Lam spoke about when Ben Earl and Max Malins left the club at the end of their loan spell. Was said they came here and they played the Bristol way. We didn't play the Max Malins way, we didn't play the Ben Earl way. They fitted into our system and played the Bristol way. So Bristol know they're getting a player who first of all understands their system, he's international quality, he's a top Premiership operator, and he knows their system, which, as we see with Bristol, is crucial. When that system works, the seasons that they finished in the top four, when they finished top of the league before losing to Harlequins in that semi-final, is when their system's working really well. Last season was the complete opposite. The system wasn't working well, and we saw what happened. So I think from that point of view, Max Malins coming in and fitting into that system is a really positive thing. The other thing I think it also shows is the benefit of that loan system. I was not skeptical, but there was always something in rugby, because we don't see it too often, that kind of loan system. And in fact, we're starting to see it now, aren't we, with Worcester players, 4 of them signed for Bath earlier this week. Maybe we'll see more players sign on loan until hopefully Worcester can find some sort of solution. But the loan system in rugby isn't something we see a lot of, but this is an example of where it can work really well, I think, because Bristol got those guys for a year. They came in, had a brilliant impact, really positive impact. They then went back to Saracens. They both have continued to play really well, and now on this occasion, Max Malins is going to join Bristol again because he knows the club. He knows the system he's going to fit into. He still knows the majority of the players in that team. He knows Pat Lam and everything that goes along with being a Bear and how they train and all that sort of stuff. So I think from that point of view, it shows how a loan market, how a loan system can work, because it's allowed Bristol, it's helped Bristol in signing Max Malins. So yeah, overall, I think it's a positive signing. I think it will be interesting to where we see him line up. I suspect we could be seeing him more as fullback. I think if Charles Piutau was to leave, Max Malins automatically becomes the first choice fullback for Bristol. No sign at the moment that Ben Earl might be following him. I saw that on Instagram, the Bears posted a little tease which got people's hopes up, but there's nothing to suggest that that's the case at the moment. I mean, Ben Earl, reigning Premiership Player of the Year, been unbelievable for Saracens, was so good once again on the weekend. So I'm not sure that he's going to be joining Bristol. But those are just kind of some of my thoughts on the transfer, what it might mean for Bristol. But let me know down below, drop your comments. As I say, I think that it could be a really, really positive one. I'm excited to see how this develops, and it'll be interesting to see the impact of this. Whenever you see a signing, particularly at the moment with the salary cap being slightly lower, whenever you see a signing like this, you've always got to think, what does that mean for the rest of the squad, sort of who's moving on and that sort of thing. And possibly, maybe we'll see Charles Piutau move on. We'll have to wait and see if that is the case, but that would be my suspicion, is that we're going to see the former All Black, the dazzling fullback, maybe depart Ashton Gate at the end of the year, which would be really sad. But as I've kind of highlighted in this video, I don't necessarily think it would be the end of the world. But as I say, let me know down below, drop a comment, like the video, subscribe always, all that stuff massively helps the channel, and see you in the next one.